This tiny handheld steam cleaner can wipe out all the grime in your kitchen, bathroom, and even hidden corners of your home. Grease, water stains, mold, even dirt and cracks. High-temp steam blasts them all away in seconds. Plus,
I had to cook me some baked macaroni and cheese. I had to do some laundry. I had to clean up the kitchen. All that good stuff. So I took my time.
All right, you guys. Happy Wednesday.
Battle Bud Wednesday again. I should have changed my I should have done at least on.
More importantly, happy 6 million subscribers. We
made it last night. We did see it. Look at her.
did it. I'm so proud. I really am. Without a single dollar spent on advertising. $0. That's actually just an incredible feat. No outside investors, no secret funding from foreign countries, no influencers, influential campaigns. Well, there were a lot of influencers that were against us. Essentially, the entire Western media apparatus has been attacking us incessantly. They said it couldn't be done, right? Everybody has to sell out to somebody. That's been the general idea. No one makes it in this town without pledging allegiance to Israel every day. You can't make it without us, sort of a vibe. So we said, cool, how about we just burn that town to the ground like you guys did to Gaza? We want nothing to do with it. And we survived. We survived all the attacks, and we did it with no one to thank but you guys at home. You are our day in and day out investors. I will never stop telling you guys how grateful I am to you, and definitely for giving us the strength when things were crazy as well. Like I always tell you, your comments always uplift me on the internet. You guys are the proof of the concept, so I have to say that. The concept is that you don't have to sell your soul to Satan for earthly riches that you can't take with you when you go. It feels good to say no to Satan. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Anyway, boy oh boy, do we have an episode for you today. We had to make it a special one. And special it is. We have identified our passenger, our high-ranking U.S. government official, part of this administration that was aboard the plane which left Fort Huachuca on the morning of September 9th. Let me just say, this is not going to put to bed any conspiracy theories related to Charlie Kirk's death. So, welcome back to Candace.
I had already put her on mute. Should we guess? Shall we make like a little hypothesis about who was on Sam 702? I don't know. Remember, it was supposed to be allegedly. When is somebody from Vegas? Let's just watch and see. Let's just watch and see.
Where to begin? This is one of those episodes where you should probably take notes. It would be appropriate if you took out your notebooks, class.
Johnny's baked macaroni and cheese still hot. Hey, oh, thank you, Arissa. I see it. Hey, Arissa. Thank you for coming in and speaking. We know how difficult it is for people to come in and say.
We're going to start with,
especially when they have the chat open. I should just shut the chat down. Subscribers only. I'm not sure go back to doing that.
Charlie Kirk's life in July, in general, the period of undue stress that was being brought upon him by his friends and his allies. And I want to be clear, the stress that was being added to his life was because of the friend and the ally, Israel. Now, you may have forgotten this. I'm going to remind you, but I told you guys many moons ago that back during July of 2025, when Bibi Netanyahu was making the rounds, doing a ton of American podcasts in general, he requested to do Charlie Kirk's show. He wanted to come on Charlie Kirk's show, and Charlie refused him. So what did Bibi do instead? Well, he kept up his schedule with podcasters. He did the Nelk Boys. That was released on July 21st. He did Trigonometry. That was released on August 20th. He also did the Patrick Bet-David Show. That was recorded and then released on August 26th. He did the Officer Tatum Show. That interview was released on September 4th. Also on September 4th, he sat down with Eric Stakelback of TBN. Is it Stakelback? I'm not being funny when I say that I had never heard of Eric Stakelback before I was researching today's episode. And I'm not saying that to big time him, to be clear. I'm saying that because I want you to sit back and fully appreciate how positively bizarre and unusual it is that suddenly all of these people are scoring interviews with the Prime Minister of Israel, the sitting Prime Minister of Israel. That's a very important man during, I might add, wartime. So yeah, bizarre is the correct adjective, full stop. It's not bizarre for the podcasters who chose to host him. That would be a big get, especially if you're a Zionist and you believe in what he's saying. But it is abnormal. It should be beneath the office of a prime minister of a foreign country to stop what he is doing amidst a war to go on an American podcast tour. Okay? Suddenly, though, Bibi Netanyahu's overcome with the need to hit that podcast circuit. He's effectively on what can be described an American public relations tour in the run-up to Charlie's assassination. These are just the facts. Now, to put this into proper context, would it be strange to you if Keir Starmer, the current sitting Prime Minister of the UK, suddenly went on a PR blitz in the United States? Like, for what reason would he do that? Why would he suddenly want or need an American audience to appreciate him? Prior to this PR blitz, Bibi Netanyahu had actually not sat down with an American podcaster in years. Years. Since 2023, to be precise, when he sat down with Lex Fridman. And I should make it clear that he made Lex Fridman fly to his office in Israel to conduct that interview. So to what did we owe the honor, Prime Minister? Because it feels to me a little bit like, and again, this is my opinion, pre-PR. Last time he had done any sort of an American PR blitz at all, outside of independent podcasts, I mean, just like him doing multiple shows in a row in America, that was back in 2022 when he was crucially not the sitting president, the sitting prime minister of Israel, and there was a more appropriate context. He was hawking his crappy book. That's what he was doing in 2022. He was buying my book, so he went on a tour. That is a reason that people go on press tours to hawk books. But there was no product in 2025 that he was selling, so what was he doing? And the crucial point, again, is that Charlie Kirk declined to have him on his show. His friend, Charlie Kirk, he would say, just a few days later, when Charlie was assassinated, he would say, Charlie was a great friend. But really? Why did he refuse to have you on his show?
If he was such a good friend.
I know, actually. That was a rhetorical question. The answer is because Charlie had a change of heart regarding Israel and the Hamptons quote-unquote intervention, which took place the weekend of August 5th, only furthered Charlie's growing resentment against their strong-arming influence. Park that in the back of your mind.
Okay, August 5th.
Regarding the Egyptian planes, the ones that do not concern Erica Kirk at all, okay? She's not concerned about that. I have had this sinking suspicion that when you look at the planes, it's plausible that they're being used by Israel, actually, to shuttle VIPs during points of military inflection. Again, this is my opinion. No one knows these planes better than I do. And I noticed also in looking at these planes, they tend to turn off their transponders when they're making short trips around Cairo, about an hour and a half flights, and then they return back to Cairo. And they just, for some reason, turn off their transponders. And when I calculate that distance precisely of where these planes could be going in the allotted time frame, I keep coming up with either Israel or Jordan. Those are the options I look at. And then I also noticed that they seem to move always when Israel is on the brink of trouble, right? And I'll give you an example of what I mean. October 7th. 2023, a day that will live in infamy, probably for the Palestinians. The Egyptian plane SUBTU, which I describe as my purple plane, flew from Cairo at 8:50 a.m. shortly after the attacks began. So did somebody fly in and then take them out? I don't know. That's just a fact. October 7th, that's what they did. They flew from Cairo to Paris, and okay, random fact. Then it flew from Paris to St. Louis, Missouri, stays for 5 days. Giving you another example here. Similarly, on April 14th of 2024, I believe I wrote 25, but I think it's 24, there was Operation True Promise, okay? That's when Israel was being bombed by Iran and Hezbollah in retaliation because Israel had bombed the Iranian embassy in Damascus. Well, lo and behold, that same Egyptian plane took off, flew from Cairo, always to Paris, and stayed there for 6 days. So I just thought it's possible. Look, on the one hand, it's possible that these are just Egyptian VIPs who are concerned about what's happening in Israel, and they just feel safer in Paris and beyond. Or it's possible that these are Israeli VIPs who are using Egyptian planes, which is something that they have done historically in the past. So that's not something that is that far. You don't have to imagine something, a scenario that hasn't happened many times over in the past. Now, of course, in considering that scenario, I had wondered in my rational mind if it was true. Let's say that we could confirm that they are ushering Israeli VIPs during wartime, war incidents. How and why would that ever bring them to Utah? That just feels so random. But of course, you recall, that we discovered that Utah is indeed a special place, at least to Bibi Netanyahu, because the Romney family holds considerable political power in Utah. You can't think of Utah without thinking of the Romney family. They are effectively Mormon royalty, and Mitt Romney, as it turns out, is best friends with Bibi Netanyahu. They have a bromance. It's been documented for years in the press, for over 50 years, longer than I have been alive. These two have been besties. We reminded you that they met at the Boston Consulting Group, where they both worked. And they haven't stopped working together and supporting each other since. I told you guys that Mitt Romney's presidential campaign team actually went over to BYU Jerusalem, where, as it turns out, a lot of CIA agents are recruited from. Their approach to work while they're in school during their studies. Very interesting. We've confirmed that. Now, I'm going to remind you also that from the Boston Consulting Group, Mitt Romney founded Bain Capital with an Israeli spy, Robert Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell's father, as one of his seed investors. All of that is an important recap. Park it in the back of your mind as we now go to my favorite place. Favorite place of all, Fort Huachuca. SAM 702. Air Force plane given the designation SAM because it is carrying a VIP. That designation.
Hold on, let me get in the chat. Hold on, let me get in the chat. Just in case you wanna see what's going on. I know. I can't see him. Alright. I'm in the chat. That's me. If you dare or want to see it. Let me get myself a thumbs up too.
Is used to transport the president, vice president, cabinet members, commanders, Congress, and other high-ranking government officials or foreign dignitaries. And we wanted to know who was aboard that plane. Not speculating that they did anything wrong. We don't know what happened at Fort Huachuca in the morning, right? We just found a guy who thinks he saw Brian Hartpole walking out of a meeting, and for whatever reason, Brian Hartpole has been extremely reticent to just present a logical or even respond with a yes or no as to whether or not he was there. We wanted to just know who was there. Forget what they could have been doing there. Maybe there's a rational reason they're there. Maybe they're there because they do some military work. I don't know Brian Hartpole like that. Maybe he does. That could have been his answer. Yeah, I was there, but I had a contract that I was working on, and that's what brought me there. Nope. We got an influencer campaign, a lot of special forces guys suddenly in the mix, very strange, screaming, threats, we're gonna take you down, we're gonna platform Mitch's baby mamas. What's going on here, man? A simple yes or no would do. I don't know this man, Mitch.
Baby
I don't
mama.
need to die on any hill. Just tell me yes or no. Nobody wanted to do that.
Right.
We just got to work and said, who's leaving Fort Huachuca and heading for El Paso, Texas, in a time frame that would work with this alleged meeting on the morning of September 9th.
They don't want you seeing this, but they can't hide it from you much longer. So first step is add clean water about 3/4 of the way up. Next, throw some salt in. Doesn't have to be measured.
That's it.
And now we can reveal the name of one of those VIPs who was aboard the plane, apparently with 4 other people. His name is Bradley Hansel. He was nominated by Trump to be the Undersecretary of War for Intelligence and Security. He was confirmed by the Senate and sworn in on July 25th, 2025. Tell you what he does. Per our Department of War website, Mr. Hansel exercises authority, direction, and control on behalf of the Secretary of War, it's Pete Hegseth, over all intelligence and security organizations in the Department of War, including the 9 Department of War components that are members of the intelligence community. He also serves as the Director of Defense Intelligence and the Principal Advisor to the Director of National Intelligence on Defense Intelligence Matters.
Goodness.
Okay. So he reports directly to Pete Hegseth. He was selected by Trump. And frankly, an argument could be made that it makes sense that he would be at an intel base given his position. But he has a background that I just can't ignore.
Here we go.
After serving in the military, first in the Navy and then the Army Special Forces Airborne Division, Brad Hansel immediately went to work for the Boston Consulting Group.
Oh,
Interesting.
God. Not me and Robert.
After some years, he was then picked to work under Trump's first administration as a member of the National Security Council, and he was to work as the special assistant to President Donald J. Trump for national security affairs. When Trump's first term concluded, he went back to the Boston Consulting Group as a principal of the firm for years. He then did a one-off year before being selected again by Trump in the new term as the undersecretary, which we just told you about. Now, that's interesting to me. I'm like, just like Mitt and Bibi, Mr. Hansel was formerly employed by the Boston Consulting Group. So I thought, man, what is this Boston Consulting Group? I mean, it just seems to be a pipeline to the White House. He ran, he was a senator. Like, what's going on here?
Wow.
Who are they consulting for?
Ooh,
And of course, I asked myself, are there any ties to Israel?
always.
I'm just going to be frank. Are there any ties to Israel at the Boston Consulting Group? And funny enough,
No.
in the very month that Mr. Hansel was sworn in, the Boston Consulting Group had a massive scandal, which was uncovered due to the reporting over at the Financial Times. There were some whistleblowers at the Boston Consulting Group.
Uh-oh.
So let's read about a recap of what happened there, what the Financial Times was able to uncover. It was a secret project known as Project Aurora.
Aurora.
This website tells us, and I'm going to read this website directly. It says, launched in late 2024, Project Aurora was originally framed as a pro bono feasibility study for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, a Geneva-registered NGO created with backing from the U.S. and Israeli security-linked interests. Over 7 months, the project evolved into a fully billed consulting contract reportedly worth $4 million. According to a series of leaked documents obtained by the Financial Times, the core of the work focused on estimating the financial costs of various scenarios for Gaza's post-conflict future. 2 primary models emerged. One proposed a voluntary departure plan, $9,000 in cash per person, aimed at relocating around 500,000 Palestinians outside of the Gaza Strip. A second model.
Do we know how much that is? 9,000? Tell them 500 on Let me tell you, she got me over here struggling with this little print. 9,000 times 500,000. You should be in the billions at that point, right? Let me pull out a calculator. I was in the middle of this pistachio, Lord. I'm just curious to know. Oh my God. I got 4.5. That's with the B. Somebody trying to get my attention. Thank you for the engagement. Somebody know how to get that peripheral. It is million and damn billion, right? Trillion come after bit, yeah. So it's 4.5. Okay, let me go finish.
Lowered direct payments to $5,000, but added 4 years of subsidized housing and 1 year of food assistance. Neither model specified destination countries, but internal documents suggest that analysts expected relocation to lower cost regions, likely outside of Israel or occupied Palestinian territories. Total costs ranged from $2.5 to $5 billion, but the numbers obscured a deeper reality. They converted displacement into a solvable financial problem. The people of Gaza, already facing displacement, trauma, and siege, were treated as units in a logistical matrix. The Boston Consulting Group's approach was methodologically consistent with its standard consulting playbook. The firm employed scenario modeling and comparative cost analysis, tools typically used in corporate restructuring or infrastructure investment projects. In Project Aurora, these tools were repurposed to evaluate the relative financial.
I really don't like to hear her ass read. I don't know. It could just be me. I don't know. It's something about her reading that just really, it don't stick the way I want it to stick. Let me just read it real quick so I can understand what's going on. Just give me a second. It's no shade to her. It's just, she be talking too fast, reading too fast. It's like I have to process it. She just be want to read it, because she done already read it. And it's like, now we're in 2024. And remember, these is leaked documents from whoever consulting group that is. With Mitt Romney and the late Robert and now Hansel. Okay, so launched in late 2024. Project Aurora was originally framed as a pro bono feasibility study for the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. I don't know what feasibility study means. We know what pro bono means, but I couldn't tell you nothing about no feasibility study. A Geneva registered NGO created with backing from U.S. and Israeli security-linked interests. Okay. Why are we always in a business? That's what I don't understand. A Geneva registered NGO created with backing from U.S. and Israeli security-linked interests. So we know who's interested in this. Over 7 months, the project evolved into a fully billed consulting contract. Reportedly worth $4 million. According to a series of leaked documents obtained by the Financial Times, the core of the work focused on estimating the financial costs of, she should have put, quote, various scenarios, various scenarios for Gaza's post-conflict future. Late 2024, okay. When did October was it October 7th? October 9th? Whatever it was. Was that in 2024? Okay. Two primary models emerged. One proposed the voluntary departure plan. $9,000 in cash per person. Cash. Aimed at relocating around 500,000 Palestinians outside the Gaza Strip. Relocating, okay. A second model lowered direct payments to $5,000, but added 4 years of subsidized housing and 1 year of food assistance. Neither model specified destination countries. You gonna relocate them, but you don't know where you relocating them to. But we gonna give you money to relocate them. Either we can give you $9,000 per individual, or we can give you $5,000 plus a little housing, and then just 1 year of food. But internal documents suggest that analysts expected relocation to lower cost regions, likely outside Israel or the occupied Palestinian territories. Total costs range from 2.5 to 5 billion, but the numbers obscured a deeper reality. They converted displacement into a solvable financial problem. The people of Gaza, already facing displacement, trauma, and siege, were treated as units in a logistical matrix. BCG's approach was methodologically consistent with its standard consulting playbook. The firm employed scenario modeling and comparative cost analysis. What? This is where she left off at, and that sentence was like, let me read it by myself because I don't understand. Even that sentence, look, the firm employed scenario modeling and comparative cost analysis tools typically used in corporate restructuring or infrastructure investment projects. See what I mean? Like, what? Tools typically used in corporate restructuring or in infrastructure investment projects. The firm employed scenario modeling and comparative cost analysis. In Project Aurora, these tools were repurposed to evaluate the relative financial impact of different population movement strategies.
Impact of different population movement strategies. It tells us that by April of 2025, BCG's senior leadership claimed that they had issued some internal guidance to halt the project because concerns began to mount internally about the nature of the client, that being Israel, the implications of the work, and the potential reputational damage. But the firm would then say that two senior partners continued the project in defiance of their directives, maintaining an unofficial team and billing through alternative structures. The project continued through May of 2025 when the Financial Times story broke. In July, BCG quickly dismissed the two partners and launched an external audit. The CEO of BCG, Christoph Schweizer, described the episode as reputationally very damaging. Following the Financial Times publications, numerous media outlets rushed to characterize Project Aurora as an engineered deportation plan.
This has been in my luggage for 3 days, traveling 4,000 miles across the world, and this is how it comes out.
Perfectly said.
Okay.
Right.
Now here's where it gets fun, you guys. You see, the Boston Consulting Group
Right. BCG.
was also, as we just told you, instrumental in setting up that Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. That's ringing a bell for you.
Oh.
The consulting firm helped to develop the logistics, the organizational structure, and they also set the pricing for paying and equipping private security contractors to operate the food distribution hubs in Gaza. Okay, that's what that was all about. And this was, of course, backed and funded by Israel, but you might recall that it was then discovered these were effectively just killing fields. The videos are horrific. They are available online and you should watch them. You should understand what the IDF army does. Starving Palestinians effectively being led to the slaughter as the IDF fires upon them. That was the scandal. So what did Boston Consulting Group do? Well, they withdrew, of course, likely to save face. And following their exit, another Trump appointee was tapped to become the new chairman of the foundation in their stead. Guess who? Here's Johnny. Yes, Reverend Johnny Moore, one half of the Kairos Company duo with Andrew Colvett once upon a time. That's where Andrew Colvett's from. He's working for Johnny Moore at first for finding Charlie Kirk. It really is just such a beautiful story. Everybody knows each other. Everybody knows each other. Check out this headline, Times of Israel. Gaza Humanitarian Foundation taps U.S. evangelical leader Johnny Moore as the new chairman. It tells us that he was appointed as the new executive chairman of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is the U.S. and Israel-backed organization providing aid to Gazans. Its previous CEO, Jake Wood, quit last week, and the Boston Consulting Group abandoned the project today. Thank you, Johnny, for stepping up to the plate to fill in the void left by the Boston Consulting Group, which still led to children and women and men in Palestine being slaughtered. Thank you, Johnny Moore. He would eventually abandon the project in November. There was no fixing it. It's almost like it was a planned genocide or something. Now, in case you need a visual, here is what it looks like right now, currently on the graphic. I can show you this graphic here. We have Brad Hansel, our Undersecretary of War, Defense and Intelligence. We have, of course, Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, who has time for PR blitzes leading up to Charlie's assassination. And we have his best friend, BFF AE. They wear necklaces, probably, like little matching necklaces. They all worked for the Boston Consulting Group. She came under fire. And these points just tell you about Project Aurora, about the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. It also tells you who engaged them. They were initially engaged by Orbis, which is a Washington area security contractor, to help with the feasibility study for a new aid project. Orbis was prepping the study on behalf of the Taclith Institute, which is an Israeli think tank. And yeah, BCG was chosen as that consultant because of their long-standing relationship with Phil Riley, an ex-CIA operative who worked for Orbis. Now, ex-CIA, kind of like, there's been a lot of rumors and innuendo about what Bibi Netanyahu was doing while he was living in America. Who's really running our CIA is a broader question. It certainly isn't Trump. They are certainly not reporting to Donald J. Trump. I will say that. Anyway, I will let you guys chew that over. When we get back, I'm going to share with you some more interesting things because it's quite a tangled web we weave. And the timeline in June of 2025 is getting pretty dicey. Take a quick break and we'll be right back. All right, you guys, the media does not even need to lie anymore. They just frame everything for you and to think for yourself. They tell you what matters, what to be outraged about, and what to ignore. It's hard to trust a single outlet to tell me the truth, which is why I use Ground subscription. Okay, so before I show you this timeline I'm putting together, I should make it clear that this is my internal working timeline. They're just things on this timeline, some of the things that could have nothing to do with what happened to Charlie Kirk. I just like to know things that were happening in the world. So not everything is necessarily a clue. It's just things that happened that I found relevant enough to put onto my timeline in general. But I do want to take a look at it here because things get interesting. I think things get interesting in June. We can pull that up here. We can start with the Boston Consulting Group. Yeah, Boston Consulting Group abandoning the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation in June. This June 2nd entry, if this doesn't make sense to you, there's this person on the Egyptian plane who goes by Walid Mahmoud. Okay, he is aboard on June 2nd, 2025. He is flying in on SU-BTV. He's in Provo, and then he departs Provo. So he is going to come back, and he will also be on this plane that departs which leaves Wilmington on the day of Charlie's assassination. This feels to me like a VIP. I don't know if that's true, but that's what that point is on June 2nd. On June 3rd, Reverend Johnny Moore is announced to take over as chairman of the Gaza Humanitarian Aid Project since everything wound up as a disaster for the Boston Consulting Group, at least a PR disaster, because the public found out. On June 2nd, again, this could not be a relevant point. There is this flight that departs from Tucson to Fort Huachuca on September 8th that I was looking into for a while, and it looked like it was a flight that was associated with a flight training school. So I just noted that flight training school did get a new CEO named Matt Bromberg, who is connected to Raytheon and Northrop Grumman. Again, could be nothing. June 4th, Charlie speaking at Dream City. June 13th, we have Iran and Israel's 12-day war. But I really want to scroll down here to June 18th. That is when Charlie goes into the White House. We have confirmed those dates thanks to Brett Weinstein. Goes into the White House and he is arguing for us not to get involved in Israel's war with Iran. And he is debating very powerful Zionist lobbyists who are there to argue on behalf of Bibi Netanyahu. And Charlie emerges the temporary winner of that. Trump moves to limit his involvement. And that's an interesting inflection point, in my view. On that very same day, June 19th, the second day that he's arguing at the White House, Erica purges her Instagram. She deletes 126 posts. I find that to be very unusual. I just find that to be very unusual. On June 22nd, Operation Midnight Hammer, which is when America bombs Iran nuclear sites, that limited military involvement that Trump had agreed to. On July 22nd, but I think that's supposed to be in July. It's in the wrong spot. But that Bradley Hansel is confirmed. Sticking with June, the Israel and Iran's war comes to an end on June 26th. This is another weird thing that happens after Charlie wins against Bibi Netanyahu. This writer, Claire Guinan, who had never published before, she has no writing profile at all, writes her first article for Jezebel. This is going to be the writer of the article. If I went onto Etsy, she's new, and this is her. She starts in June. Claire Guinan, no interest in the press about figuring out what inspired her to go on to Etsy, find a new witch profile, and buy a spell about harming Charlie Kirk, putting a curse onto Charlie Kirk. It's very unusual. We paid some Etsy witches to curse Charlie Kirk. That was just less than 10 days after Charlie won this debate against Bibi Netanyahu's many lobbyists. On July 2nd, Rob McCoy formally resigns as the lead pastor of Calvary Church. He's intending to move to Arizona. July 4th, the Financial Times article comes out about the Boston Consulting Group and Project Aurora. On July 11th is Tuckergate. Tucker Carlson speaks at the Turning Point USA conference and the donors lose their mind. Tucker calls out Jeffrey Epstein on stage. He's asking where all this money is coming from, who is serving. If you are serving in a foreign army, you should be stripped of your citizenship. He muses about where Bill Ackman's wealth comes from as well. On July 14th, this is just a fact, could have nothing to do with anything, but I found it interesting. Erica travels to Long Beach, California to speak at James Caddis's Calvary Chapel Church for their Women's Summer of Psalms retreat. That's interesting because James Caddis heads up the Turning Point USA Faith Department. But in this speech, Erica says that this is her Sunday church. And I found it bizarre or strange that the speech was remarkably pro-Israel.
Yeah. Hold on. Cole, what's up? Look, I hear him. Technically, this is his time. I'm just late. Hold on, give me a second. Love you. Welcome back, love. Yair. I don't know why I thought it was Yair. Yar. You gonna have to tell me how to say that. Yair. I don't know. I might be saying it wrong. Now that I think about it. Let me give it.
Call to arms for Israel, given the fact that Charlie was amidst having donors cancel him over Tucker and was under tremendous pressure and was holding the line against Israel. I just found it weird that his wife would then give this remarkably pro call of arms to Israel speech. That just seems like, wouldn't have been my decision. But Erica is unusual in general. We are then told on July 18th, that's according to local news in Utah, that Turning Point USA then submits for Charlie to do his event at Utah Valley. We have not been able to independently confirm that. We have not seen the paperwork, what student requested him to go. This is a very strange blind spot. I told you this is late in the day for Turning Point USA. I went on tour every year with Charlie. I don't care who tries to tell you otherwise. This is not when a campus tour comes together. You don't submit and then you're instantly honored. There's a very long waiting list to get Charlie to speak and whoever is speaking with him. It begins at least the semester before. Okay? We have our yellow plane, then comes in from Cairo through to Paris, as always, to Omaha, Nebraska, and then to Lincoln, Nebraska. On July 20th, Charlie then vacations in Maine for a couple of weeks with his family. He goes off radar. Mikey McCoy and his wife Elizabeth join them for the first time. And that's when this BTS content is being caught of Charlie walking with his children. July 22nd, speaking of Nebraska and these planes being here from Cairo, it is announced that Nebraska is going to do a trade and investment trip with Egypt. There was some private off-record meeting that took place with international professionals per the local media. We don't know who those professionals were that were meeting with Bob Evnen, the Secretary of State. That would be interesting to know who they were. Who were these Egyptians that suddenly wanted to do a deal? Yeah, I'd like to know. July 25th is another weird thing that takes place. YRefi comes in as the #1 sponsor for Charlie Kirk's fall tour. I'll tell you why that's weird. It's weird because they had already signed a contract for the entire year. What I mean by that is they signed a contract which included AmFest, included YWLS. It was signed for all of 2025 and included Charlie's tour in the spring. But suddenly, late in the day, they're like, hey, we're going to be your #1 sponsor for your fall tour. We'd like to essentially write up an addendum. And as we know, they're going to be there, actually. The sponsors are going to be there for his first tour event at UVU. That's interesting. So it's on here. July 30th, it could be irrelevant, but it is announced that Palantir is doing a $10 billion software deal with the military, and they are going to be stationed at Fort Huachuca. That's interesting. They moved into Fort Huachuca. They got announced. I don't know if you want to show that article, Sky. We can pull that up so people can see where we're getting that from. Big shakeup in software buying practices, starting with a new $10 billion enterprise deal with Palantir, and it tells us elsewhere that they will be moving on to Fort Huachuca's base. Intel could make sense. It's on my timeline anyways. August 5th through to the 7th is the now infamous Hamptons retreat and quote-unquote intervention, Charlie's words, not mine, over Israel, where Charlie held the line, and you could see his energy regarding how he felt about the situation when he appeared on Megyn Kelly's podcast in the following days, where he was upset and saying people were calling him anti-Semitic and that they were going to lose everybody. August 27th, we told you about Dylan Law Group drafting paperwork for Havas Media on behalf of Clock Tower LLC, Show Faith by Works. They're going to legally geofence and spread propaganda on behalf of Israel. September 9th is when Charlie sends a message declaring he has left the pro-Israel cause due to their intense bullying and financial pressure. Afterward, he has a Zoom call with Josh Hammer and a rabbi from Israel. Sometime later that evening, he sends out messages declaring that an unknown they are going to kill him. Turning Point says. He meant trannies on a rooftop. That's what he meant. I don't think so. I don't think that he was worried about transgendered people. I call BS on that. And until further evidence is produced, like the actual messages, I'm inclined to believe that the Turning Point tells a lot of lies. Obviously, we know what happens thereafter. Charlie's assassinated, and Bibi declares again in another little PR blitz that Israel didn't kill him. Nothing to see there. So I wanted you guys to have that updated little timeline to look through in your own time. I also want to tell you a little detail here that I found out that's seemingly crazy, but it actually checked out to be true. Somebody had sent me a tip regarding Mitt Romney and his relationship with France, of all places. I said, what are you talking about? They said, oh, you've been talking about these planes also, if you think these are Israeli planes, they always stop over in France. And they said it's long been a rumor that France blackmailed Mitt Romney when he was a teenager and was doing his 2 years abroad. He did his 2 years. What is the proper word that Mormons use when they go away for 2 years? Like, they don't call it studying abroad. It's like they do it for the church. Yes, his mission trip. He was 21 years old. He did his mission trip in France, and he killed somebody in a car accident, and it went away. I said, that can't be true. And he said, yeah, no, it's very true. And I looked it up, and it was on Mitt Romney's Wikipedia. It was very hard to find information about this car crash, but I'm going to show you this New York Times article, how a car crash in France deeply affected a U.S. presidential hopeful. I want to be clear, I have no evidence that he was blackmailed. I just thought this was a crazy little tidbit that I never knew, and I just wanted to share it with you guys because it's interesting. And what happened was, indeed, in the south of France, he was on his Mormon mission. It tells us that a dispute had developed in the small Mormon congregation of Pau in southern France. The president of the Mormon mission to the country, H. Dwayne Anderson, was making a visit. He took his wife and 2 missionaries and a French Mormon couple, 6 people in a car that would have comfortably sat just 5. The driver was a 21-year-old missionary named Mitt Romney, who is now a leading candidate for the Republican nomination for President of the United States. On the way back from Powell, the car was hit head-on, and Anderson's wife, Leola, was killed. Romney, who was seriously injured in the crash on June 16, 1968, was briefly thought to have been killed, has long said that there was nothing that he could have done to avoid the tragedy. Interviews with survivors and people who were directly involved in the accident's aftermath largely confirm his description. The driver of the car that hit Romney, according to an account in a local newspaper at the time, was a 46-year-old man, Albert Marie, a Catholic priest. Many of the Mormons that are familiar with the accident say they believe that the priest could have been inebriated, but that assertion could not be confirmed. I just thought it was just such a wow kind of a story that I never knew. And that person said that there was some rumors about that. And of course, his dad got involved immediately. He called his dad. And they, I think, sent somebody over, and it's very difficult to find any more details on that story, but I just had to tell you that because, wow, it's just always something, man. It is just always something. I also want to tell you guys this, super interesting. We have been receiving a ton of emails from people, actually, who all insist that they remember hearing a portion of a sentence that Charlie GPT, where he appoints Erica as the CEO, they believed that what Turning Point actually did was they doctored different sentences from various speeches and Q&As that Charlie had put together. And as we know, this is a bit of a sore spot for Blakey Neff. Okay, this is what makes, nothing drives Blakey Neff crazier. I do want to shout out the fact that we got just Blakey trending,
They say higher education is outdated, irrelevant, but at Grand Canyon University, we shatter the status quo.
Blakey was trending on X for news because I hit him yesterday, and he said, yeah, why don't you run for president, Candace? Because there was an article saying that some internal polling was done and people would like to see me run for president. I've been very clear, I'm only running for dictator. I have no interest in negotiating with a bunch of bought out people in Congress. So you shouldn't vote for me unless you want me to be dictator for a very, very, very long time. But Blakey was trying to be snarky about the idea of me running for president. And I said to him, okay, deal, I'll run if you can just, send me this recording, this video of Charlie appointing Erica as CEO. And he had another one of his little spirals on X saying nothing that made any sense. He's just very bad at it. He's someone who probably should not have a public platform. But it got me thinking about this and all of the emails and people swearing that they saw a clip of Charlie answering a question that was unrelated about Erica and saying she'd do a great job talking about Erica in a different vein. And I suddenly realized that Turning Point USA did a rather mysterious thing. They removed all of Charlie's episodes. This was a big deal. They started quietly removing them. And I said to myself, did they start removing these episodes? Wouldn't it be weird if we learned that they started removing these episodes right before Erica hit the stage with Megyn Kelly and told this story about her seeing a video of Charlie saying something? Because that would just be a bit of a coincidence if they removed episodes which would allow us to fact check that claim that they're chopping and screwing and putting together a sentence that Charlie never said right before Erica meets with Megyn Kelly. That date where she met with Megyn Kelly was November 22nd. And I went through my inbox and I went through to figure out when was the first day that we were alerted that they began removing episodes from the Charlie Kirk show. And they began that on November 3rd. So just ahead of Erica Kirk going out there and telling a story about Charlie appointing her, reversing course on everything he had ever believed in publicly about women staying at home with their children. Suddenly, he became a feminist a few weeks before he died in Aspen. Just before she said that story, the public heard that story for the first time from her mouth, Turning Point moved to mysteriously delete all of these episodes. They deleted certain tweets. They deleted Q&A sessions from the internet. That is a fact, by the way. Okay, people at Turning Point told me when they began deleting episodes, they thought it was so strange. And then a flurry of emails came in of people alerting me that they had saved a link of Charlie because they had loved this episode and now it's gone and they can't access it. And then Turning Point began lying and gaslighting, as they always do, pretending that they didn't do this. They're like, what? No, stuff is still up on Rumble. We didn't delete anything. Apple has a limit. You can only put 100 episodes at a time. As if we're all not on Apple. As if you can't look at thousands of Joe Rogan's catalog available on Apple and Spotify and wherever you listen. They lied. They always lie. They always gaslight, and they make you think that you're crazy. That timeline is suspicious. Okay? You should note that timeline. And if you... I actually remember somebody sending me a link of someone who had archived all of Charlie's Q&As, and I lost it somewhere. It was like a website that was like, we're going to keep Charlie's memory of Turning Point's going to get rid of it. And I cannot remember what that website was or where I saved it. So if you have access, you are familiar with what I'm talking about, please email us, tips@CandaceOwens.com or more tips@CandaceOwens.com, because I want to begin digging for that alleged clip. Some people believe that Charlie said it in a Q&A back in 2022 that Erica would do a great job, but it was pertaining to politics, and it had nothing to do with her taking over his place as CEO. And I think we can find it. If it exists, I believe we can find it. And I trust people at home because this has been an open investigation, which has brought us to this point where a lot of pieces are certainly falling together. So please email us. Please email us if you have any information about that. We'll take a brief break, and I'll read through some of your comments. All right, you guys, take a moment to think about what you are paying for loans. Okay, we got some comments that just came in reminding us about Mitt Romney's burner Twitter account that had the French name, Pierre Delecto. Pierre Delecto. It was, in fact, Mitt Romney operating a burner account on X, and he chose a French name because he is fluent in France because of his Mormon mission trip. He is a fluent French speaker. Like I said, it is a tangled web that we all weave. Top comment from yesterday's episode, Chasing Elizabeth Rope. The only thing safe in America today are the Epstein files. That is a fact. Jay and Hamey write, Jay and Amy, Hyatt, right? They removed Charlie Kirk because he would have been very vocal about Iran, Israel, Massey, and Epstein. People would have listened to Charlie, so they needed him out of the way. Well, I can tell you, if that was their plan, they massively fumbled the ball, because at least Charlie was playing ball. At least Charlie wanted to try to understand or to compromise. And what has now emerged, especially in the wake of all of the dishonesty surrounding his assassination, is people are angry, and rightfully angry, about the many lies that have been told regarding his perspectives, shifting perspectives on Israel. If they had been forthcoming about that, I think we would be in an entirely different circumstance if Bibi had shut his trap and didn't go on the news and gaslight and lie, and if we were not continuing to be gaslit by the Charlie Kirk show, which is anything but the perspectives that Charlie Kirk held, especially in the end, then maybe things would be different. But I would say that Charlie's assassination has catalyzed the American upset with Israel. That's my perspective. A comment on today's episode, Abdullah writes, why was Tom Artyom Alexandrovich allowed to leave the United States and return to Israel after being arrested in Nevada on felony child luring charges? Because he is an Israeli. That's the way our system works. In fact, didn't I just see yesterday that they also released the Israeli citizen that was caught operating illegal biolabs? When they're just going to planning to kill us all, and they let him go. No charges. The DOJ dropped all charges against him because he's an Israeli. Could you imagine if it was a Iranian or a Russian that was operating illegal biolabs in America? I suspect the conclusion would have been a lot different. Sprinkle with G writes, I guess technically you are being paid from Russia, Pakistan, everywhere, since you are being watched everywhere. I guess that could be a valid argument to the people that give us tips on the show, or buy any gear. Although I don't think you would be able to in Russia because of sanctions. It's difficult to transact with Russia at this moment. But you are absolutely right. Iran is actually also obviously on the sanctions list. But Pakistan, I don't even know where the Pakistan thing is coming from. They've run out of countries to accuse me of being funded by. Every week it was Qatar for a very long time. I was working for Russia, Qatar, Iran, Pakistan. They never bring a shred of proof because they can't. It drives them crazy that I truly am just funded by you guys supporting us at home. Esteban Esquivel writes, Candace 2028, let's go. Only for dictator. Only for dictator. Otherwise, I cannot abide. Deanne writes, sending love in the comments today. My 10-year-old comes home from school every day and asks if Candace has a new episode. She and I are hoping for some Happy Warrior merch. We do need to drop that. I also promise you guys we will have a 6 million Standus Cup. We are getting it together. It is almost finished, and we will be going max. Jenny Jen writes, over this past weekend, I received a text from a Virginia area code asking how Utah folks feel about the United States relationship with Israel. I did not respond. This seems so bizarre to text strangers to ask about Israel. Well, read those Sparrow docs. This is what it's about. You're somewhere, they're geofencing you, they're following up. How do you feel about Israel? It's pretty obvious how everybody feels about Israel. Disgusted. You don't need to text people. We're just disgusted with everything that Israel has been doing. Rightfully so. I actually just saw they broke a story. I can't even actually repeat it. I need to just put it out of my mind for a little bit about more, the harming of children in Israel that is, I think, trending over on X, and they just keep getting away with it. They just are allowed to have biolabs, they're allowed to mass murder children, they're allowed to starve people, they're allowed to have killing fields, and still purport to be victims. We are occupied. We are an occupied nation. That is the reality. You don't need me to tell you that. You just need to look around and pay attention to what's happening. They're not even hiding it anymore because they're high on their power. But when you get to that point where you are that high on your power and money, the fall is coming. Pride always comes before the fall. And that is my belief. Kenny Three Stacks writes, grabbing a slice of Shabbat with a cold side of Shalom to make it here on time. Congrats on 6 million. Thank you guys. Congrats to you guys also on 6 million, because you feel like it was a group effort. Obviously, we make the content every day, but you guys consume it. Jenny Jen writes, Zamit writes, JFK Catholic until November 22nd, 1963. Bobby Kennedy Catholic until June 5th, 1968. That was an interesting comment. No, I know, but why until, like, are they saying they're JFK Catholic? Oh, yeah, until this date. Yeah, we definitely know who is taking out all these Catholics for sure. There's been so many podcasts now talking about the rise of Catholicism. It's been so predictable because Catholics remember what was going on in the continent of Europe. That's what it is. They needed America to be young, they needed America to be Protestant and Zionist. And now that broader project seems to be failing, and people are waking up to the Zionist agenda in many of these mega churches. Ali768 wrote, since Blakey slithered into your comments last night, instead of Erica texting you to stop, she went on a scripted media tour attacking you and calling you a liar. Also, super shady for her to pick Barry Weiss's CBS and declare Charlie's support for Israel. Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. Everyone likes to forget what happened. Erica acting like Erica doesn't have my number, Jordan doesn't have my number, like I wasn't in communication with Andrew Colbert. She went on this PR tour, which backfired on her. Stop, just stop. Remember we mentioned Fort Huachuca. Fort Huachuca's weird. It's still weird. It's going to be weird until we just get clear answers on where these people were. And also an understanding of why they couldn't just provide clear answers right from the beginning. Nobody had any interest. I had at a very low percentage that Mitch accurately remembered who he saw, and then it just kept increasing. The more bizarre their attacks got, when they started digging out baby mama drama, I said, nah, something's not right here. Gotta rely on my common sense, and tells me something is very wrong here. Tomorrow, I will be joined by Anna Kasparian. Very excited about that. I have been wanting to get her on the show for quite some time. I think you guys all know we very much agree on the topic of Israel, but also just a fun conversation because there has been so much animosity between us over the years. And it really shows you that when you start looking real evil in the face, like a genocide, your perspectives change about who you want to be allied with. And I think you guys will enjoy that. I certainly enjoyed conversing with her. Also reminding you guys that if you want to continue to support our show, merch on website. We have just had a great merch website. Head to merch refresh and head to CandaceOwens.com and buy something. Not Dying for Israel has been a top seller because that's what we're not doing. We're not dying for Israel. I hope we got that out to James Lee, by the way, because he's our model. James Lee is the model for the Candace show. Nobody wears my t-shirts better than James Lee. He's our Giselle Bundchen. And we're going to keep him that way, keep sending him stuff. But yeah, it's the easiest way to support the show. Grab a mug, grab a Standis cup, grab a t-shirt, and yeah, we will just keep bringing you guys more content and more independent investigation. So can't thank you guys enough for 6 million subs. Reminding you that next week I will be dark because I will be in St. Petersburg. So the show will be off air, but there are so many other people that you can support. Lionel, I absolutely love his YouTube channel. Is amazing. I don't know what the handle is to Lionel's YouTube channel, so you guys can find that quickly. Baron Coleman, he's probably been like, Cash, you've been late a lot this week. I'm sorry, Baron, don't be upset with me. He is the after party. He does such great and fantastic research. Ian Carroll is back. I think he was off air for a little bit. There are too many options to choose from in terms of YouTube content creators that will fill the void. But we will be back after next week. I got actually a lot of vacation. We got so many family vacations, and yeah, this one will definitely get them super upset because I'm supposed to hate Russia. But I did hear they don't spit on Christians as a custom over there, so I'm quite excited about that. I'll keep you guys posted, and we'll see you when we get back.
Let me see what's going on with my algorithm, Lord. Let me see what's going on with my algorithm. Ain't nothing going on. Ain't nothing. Look, I'm like, let me refresh. I was scrolling. I'm like, oh. Ugh. You know that fight with Ray J and who was that again? Super somebody. Yeah, I think it was kind of how he fell. It's like, just fall, sir. Like, just fall. Oh my goodness. There's nothing going on, see? I'm not like, it ain't me. It ain't me. I'm scrolling, and there's nothing that's jumping out on me. Ooh. It's just nothing. Trap Lord Ross, he is all over the place. He's talking about David. He's talking about scams. He's talking about Kevin Hart. Was it Pooh Shiesty? It was something. So, well, I guess that's my time. Like, I guess that's my time. I'm really not gonna do nothing. I'm gonna get ready to lay down, watch me a little movie and stuff, because I don't go to sleep. Not immediately. I try, but it just doesn't work out like that. So in the meantime, in between time,